My name is Mike, and this is my story of what I experienced back in the summer of 1996. It was the summer before my senior year of high school, so I should have been in a good mood, looking at college options, etc. Instead, all I wanted to do was play my guitar and go to parties. I didn't apply myself very well in school, and I had my doubts about graduating at all. I was also held back a year when I was in kindergarten because I just wasn't doing very well. Growing up, all I wanted to do was play my guitar and become the next rock guitar god. I was also very, very shy, and the parties I would go to, I basically had to invite myself because it was a small town school, about 60 or so students in our class, and I really only had two good friends. Hell, I was so shy, when I first started going to the parties, I wouldn't drink because I didn't want to make a fool out of myself. That all changed though, on the last day of my junior year of high school. To keep this short, let's just say I officially got fucked up that night. My heroes growing up were Ozzy Osbourne and the Motley Crue. That night, I wanted to be the rock star of the party, and I was. That is, until I blacked out, I guess. I was now finally one of the cool kids, or so I thought. So now, it's summer of 1996, and some of the cool kids actually invited me to come over. Let's get Mikey drunk and high, that crazy fucker, I'm sure is what they were thinking. I hadn't done any hard drugs by this stage, only weed. I'm actually not sure if I would have tried any of the hard stuff back then anyway, because I was still very shy. But that would all change, of course, when I'd have a drink or a smoke. One day, three of the guys, John, Charles, and Richard, they invited me over to hang out and just chill. Keep in mind, I had never fit in with these guys or most of my classmates before. I was always the oddball, metalhead, and they were good country folk. We sat around talking about what I would want to do after high school. I don't know, I just want to be in a band, I would tell them. Hell yeah, Mikey, the greatest guitar player of all time, John laughed. John and Charles then talked to Richard, who I was intimidated by for some reason. I don't recall everything that was said, but eventually Richard came over to me and said, "Let's go for a ride, Mikey." We get in his car, and without hesitation, John and Charles, they light up a bong. Richard was driving, so I didn't want to piss him off, so I laughed at the whole situation. "You crazy fucks," I said, trying to break the ice. "You gotta try this, bro," Charles would say, passing it to me. "In the car? Come on, guys. Let's at least go back and get high somewhere else," I reasoned. "Just hit that shit already," Richard snapped. This was my first time inhaling weed from a bong. I could tell it was stronger, or something. Maybe I inhaled too much. But after that day, things got worse for the young Mikey. A few weeks go by, and I smoke up with these guys from time to time. My parents wanted to go visit some relatives in Arkansas. We lived in the Midwest, so it was quite a road trip for us. Also, I want to point out that I have two older brothers, one of which was in the military at the time, while the oldest, Jack, he would stay home instead of going to Arkansas with us. Jack was in his mid-20s and still living with us, and he would often come home drunk from a bar and just make life hell for us. So it was nice to get away, although my mum recalls at the time of the road trip that I was not myself. When we came back from Arkansas though, Jack was really not himself. He worked a full-time job, but he would always be out late and coming home drunk, but still wired. I was becoming afraid of him. He used to rough me up a lot when we were younger, but something now was different about him. He was always arguing with my mum, and he was always drunk. But even when he came home drunk late at night and working full-time, you would think he'd be tired. But no, it was as if something or someone was controlling him. The following events about my brother my mum would reveal to me years later. One night, when he was home, my mum went upstairs to his bedroom, which was on the right and mine was on the left. She wanted to tell him to clean up his room, but when she entered his room, he just sat there on the floor, with the hood of his jacket over his head, rocking back and forth. "Can you please pick up?" my mum started to say. Then he turned his face to her, his face and eyes she would later describe as pure evil.
"Get out of here,"
he shouted. My mum went back downstairs in fear. "He's definitely on something," she'd say to herself. Another odd event that happened was the day Jack came home and wanted to give something to my mum.
"Here, Mum, take this. If they find me, they'll kill me,"
Jack said desperately.
I'm going for a walk."
Jack had given my mum thousands of dollars, all rolled up. She called the police, too afraid of Jack at this point. Jack didn't just go for some ordinary walk, however. He walked about 4 miles away and was eventually found at a park, not knowing what was going on. His boss actually went looking for him and drove him back home. He didn't even recognize his boss or my mum.
Jack, it's me, Mum,"
my mum said gently.
"Mum? What?
Jeff then wept.
What the hell?"
On another occasion, when my parents were at a funeral, I was in my room trying to learn some songs on my guitar. My constant guitar playing apparently was getting to him, and he ran into my room like a ravaged, untamed animal, getting right into my face, and he told me to stop, or else. He then went back into his room, and I remember him talking to himself. I was so scared. I unplugged the guitar, and I just sat there, frozen, in fear, praying for my parents to come home soon. He began to shout at me, sometimes going back and forth between the 2 rooms. I had to get out of the house. When he went downstairs for something, I went into his room, which had a window, and the back porch of the house is behind that window. I hurried up and opened the window, and I got on the porch. It was about an 8-foot drop to the ground, but I had to get away. I jumped, but I was okay. I ran over to the next door neighbor, and before long, the cops arrived. Jack went to what my parents and I will never forget, the 7th floor of the hospital, or what I like to call home of the insane. Eventually, he would come back home, but things were never the same. And here is where it gets weird. I don't recall the exact timeline, but I hadn't smoked with John, Charles, and Richard in a while. My parents think that it's something they made me smoke, but at least a month had passed since I last smoked with them, and I went to Arkansas and all the crazy events with Jack. I began to act very strange. A lot of it I don't remember. So, here goes. My mum recently told me that I just wasn't myself in the summer of '96, as if I were in a trance or something. I began to watch a lot of scary movies, but nothing really got to me until I watched The Exorcist. It's hard to believe that I hadn't seen it before then, but it creeped me out big time. It sent shivers down my spine, and that's never happened with any movies I watch. I began to wonder if something like that could actually be true. Once, I remember, I was working at a kitchen and cleaning dishes. For some reason, I was thinking about God. I reached into the soapy water and I pulled up a big knife. I don't know why, but I felt like I could harm someone with it. So I quickly cleaned it and I put it away. And then a cold shiver came all over me. For some strange reason, I thought that maybe I was becoming possessed. Eventually, I began to ask myself questions, and I told my body to give me 1 shiver for yes, 2 shivers for no. And I know what I felt. I was able to communicate with something. Perhaps I was just scaring myself. I don't know. But on several occasions, I'd ask some question and I'd get 1 or 2 chills down my spine. I then began to ask myself if I was God. Then I got my answer. One giant, cold shiver all over my body for yes. I got addicted to this, and I was convinced that I had something to share with the world. Of course, no one believed me, and then that's when the hatred came. I thought that I was totally sane until one day I was playing, let's just call it the cold chills, where I'd ask myself questions. Now, I don't remember exactly what I said to myself, but I got super excited about it, and then I saw myself in a mirror. What I saw next made my whole body shiver. The veins in my eyes, they were bright red, like someone had painted them on. And the white parts of my eyes, they were very white, as if they could glow in the dark. I really began to freak out because I knew that I was the next God, Jesus, or something. Keep in mind, before all of this, I wasn't religious at all. One night, I was looking outside from the front door.
"Mum, there's an alien in my car,"
I said. Another night, I was in my room, and from the window, there was another alien staring at me. My parents and my brother, of course, didn't believe me, and they thought I was on something, but I hadn't been around any drugs for at least a month. Furious now, I began to hate them. On another occasion, my mum and we were having an argument about something. I don't remember what, but I do remember when I yelled at her. The scream that came out of me, it was loud, deep in tone, evil. Eventually, one day, I was the one going for a walk. I was playing my little game of cold chills. I can't remember what made me so angry, but I came home, slammed the door, and shut my dad's TV off. I scolded him for not believing me. I then kicked him in the shin, which I don't remember doing. He demanded that I give him the keys to my car. I did, and I went upstairs. Then, all of the rage, it came flooding out. I punched the drywall, but instead of going through it, I hit one of the studs, damn near breaking my hand. I then kicked the window because I was so mad, and I broke it as well. In no time, I was off to the hospital. First for my hand, then to revisit the home of the insane, the 7th floor. Again, I don't remember a lot of this. Kicking my dad, breaking the window, not even the drive to the hospital. Apparently, I was kicking the seat as my dad was trying to drive. I was also cursing at them as well. My parents did the right thing though. They could have just called the police, but they already knew what that would have led to. I had to ask my mum about everything that happened after that, because I simply don't recall even going into the hospital. She said that I entered calmly, and they rushed me right in for my hand. I had to have stitches. Then, of course, I was sent to the 7th floor, where I was finally sedated. I slept for what seemed like a year. All I really remember is that I still thought that I was the second coming of Christ. At one point, I got to meet my first psychologist. I was so eager to show him something.
"Oh, what do you want to show me?"
He asked. I lifted up my shirt and I pointed at my chest.
"Look, right here. It's Jesus,"
I replied. I honestly don't remember any of that. My mum also told me that at one point I had said that I saw dead bodies in the room. There's just so much that I don't remember. So how can that be? Was it a possession? Was it the bong I had smoked from about a month ago? Drug tests were done, and of course, they came back negative. One thing I do remember was there was this room where we could watch TV with other people on that floor. I was sitting there watching TV when suddenly my whole body, it just tightened up and I fell off the chair. The next thing I know, I'm in a fetal position and I can't move a muscle. My mum said that it could have all been the withdrawal. I spent 4 days in the hospital. several visits with a psychologist that didn't seem to do any good. I was prescribed some drugs, and I no longer believed that I was God. I also wasn't playing my game of cold chills anymore. My mum thought that it would be a good idea to go visit our priest or a minister or whatever they call them. I remember a sense of calm speaking with him. We were inside the church and I looked up at the statue of Jesus and I asked, "Why does he always look so sad?" "Well, how would you feel if you were nailed to a cross?" he replied. "Not so good, I suppose." I chuckled a little, as did he. Those 4 days in the hospital and the days prior to my stay felt like years. I still sometimes wonder what exactly caused all of it. I was never a violent kid, just very shy and quiet. I went back to school, however, and I finished my senior year. And then, eventually, I got a full-time job. I met my wife and we had a daughter. So hopefully, whatever it was that caused all of that, I hope it's gone. And to my mum and dad, you guys are the greatest. I know I put you through hell. I guess I just wasn't myself. G'day mates, it's B-Buster here. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. And you know, I used to know this guy that used to take cocaine, and he once told me that it just wasn't all it was cracked up to be. Get it? Cracked up like crack cocaine. Alright, I'll stop, guys, I'll stop. Thanks again to the Hive member that bravely shared this story for us all here, and I hope you're doing well, mate. For the chance to have your story feature in a video, you can send your story to my email, which is in the description below. And as always, keep them coming, guys, as this channel relies upon your stories to continue. Also, guys, please do me a favor and just state in your email what your story is about in the description, and also provide me with a short written statement of consent, just so that I can be above board with everything. And also, please remember to tell me in the email if you would like to remain anonymous, and please change any names if you don't want particular names to be shared. As always, guys, it would be awesome if you could like, share, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for updates throughout the week. You can also catch me on my second channel, all of which have links in the description below. Thanks again for always tuning in, guys, and for all the love and support, and I'll see you mates in the next one.